Good evening and welcome to the, what is today's date? The 11/7 meeting of the Planning Board of Dobbs Ferry. I move that we open the meeting. Do I have a second?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, just a notice to everyone, the 2 Knoll pre-submission conference items are adjourned. The 94 Ashford Avenue item is adjourned as well.
And the 443 Broadway.
And the 443 Broadway. Yes, sir.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's
And what's the-
December 5th.
All to December 5th. Thank you. The first item on our agenda is 142 Palisade Street, AHRB review for proposed facade change, including siding and window replacements. Do we have anybody here to speak to that?
TV.
142 Palisade.
No, they're just, oh, they're here.
Okay, turn on that TV.
I see, their voice only. All right, would you like to present something for your project?
Hi all. Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
See you too.
Okay. I had to be let into the Zoom. Okay, yes. So my name's Tony Macri. I'm the owner of 142 Palisade Street. And I submitted the application to make exterior upgrades as well as replacing the windows. If you'd like, I can share my screen. I put together just a quick presentation on the changes.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. So this is what it looks like today. As you can see, it's pretty much in need of a facelift. So this is the front. This is the right-hand side. This is the back, and this is a view from the left-hand side. It's stucco. There's brick here on the first floor, and what I am looking to do is replace the stucco with hardy board siding. The color is Booth Bay Blue. Addition of corbels to the top just to add some character to it. AZEK trim around the corners, the windows, the base. The brick part that's down here, looking to paint that. The color will be bleaker beige. It's a Benjamin Moore color. If you notice on this picture, well, let me go here. There's one window here, and there's 2 on this side. On the left, it looks very unbalanced. So I was proposing to add another window to the right. That's really the only change in windows. That won't be pretty much replacements, except for a small change that I'll mention on the side of the house. And let's see. Yeah, the windows, they're white today. I'm just going to replace them with white windows. And pretty much the same thing around the rest of the building. The only other changes here, these are the kitchen windows on the first and second floor in the back. And right now they are double hung windows, and I would like to make them casement windows a little bit smaller. I think right now they're 32-inch double hungs, and I was going to have 2 20-inch casements side by side. in their place. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, and then the sides will be painted here in the front, Manchester tan, another Benjamin Moore color. Here it is cement block, so I really couldn't do the siding here.
So is this two buildings? Confused. Is it two buildings?
Is there a sort of a second semi-attached building in the rear?
Yeah, it's two buildings there. There is sort of a landing in between. So it's four apartments. There's two in the front, two in the back. Over here, you get to this is for the first floor apartment in the back, and then you go up some stairs, and there's a landing there with the doors for both second floor apartments, the front and the back second floor apartments.
And the second building right now, what is it, stucco?
Yeah, it's stucco. It is this is the back of that second building. Let's see. It's hard to see in this picture. It's this building back here. It's all stucco. It's the same color, all stucco.
In the existing building, I see there's a little window up on the top of the front. Is that, it's
Here?
not another floor, is it? What's?
No, that's like the attic. I think that's a vent for the attic, air vent.
So you're just gonna cover that over?
Yeah.
Oh, is that vent actually is going away? How are you going to vent that space without that louver there?
Well, there's one in the back.
Okay.
There's no, excuse me, there's no cross ventilation in that space.
Just an attic, right?
It's not even a full attic. It's like basically like a crawl space. There's just a few feet there.
Thanks.
Members of the board have any further questions about this project?
This is 42 Palisades.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, good timing.
Yeah.
Hardy board and paint on the bottom.
Two, questions. One is it wasn't clear to me, are the materials that you're treating, maybe you guys, I apologize, I'm late. Are the materials that you're using on the front, do they return?
Yes.
The same materials return? Okay. And then the other thing is, I just find it a little bit funny that the trim around the windows is just completely the same dimension. Did anybody say anything about that?
We did not, no.
Okay, about the idea that somehow the head of the window is typically a little heavier, a little wider, whatever, than the other three sides.
Yeah.
And I think it would look less static and I think it's just a trim, it shouldn't be really a cost issue. It's just a matter of the dimension of the trim
It looks
around.
very heavy.
Yeah, it looks heavy, and I feel like the head of the window could be different than the other three sides. And then did you all also ask us? I apologize. Does the cornice return for any distance?
I don't believe
Can we
it
see the
does.
side of the building again? Proposed.
No, it doesn't.
Does not.
I don't know that it has to return far, but I can't remember what the other buildings on the street do. I mean, overall, it's an improvement. I'm not, huh?
There's the other building.
Yeah.
This just has a
I
little,
feel like I don't know, maybe it doesn't need to, I don't know. Anyway, I apologize for being late, but those would be my
okay.
thoughts.
There's adding another window here, so there's two and two on either side of the door.
I mean, it's an improvement, but it's a little sterile.
Yeah, but I mean,
It is an improvement.
it is an improvement. And I guess you're right at the property line, right? There's no space for any kind of stoop or anything like that. Is that right? Because part of what's harsh about it, and some of the other buildings on the street, is that
There's
the
a
door
drive.
is literally at the property line. Is that where it is?
Which part?
Is the facade literally on the property line, like zero setback, or is there any room for any kind of, a few steps or articulation or something between the door and this, whatever the public, wherever
in
the
the front
entrance?
here.
Yeah,
Correct.
I was actually, thinking about potentially like flower beds on both sides, maybe with a brick face or something like that.
you have room? Like, is there room between
Yeah,
the
because
facade and
it's
whatever the sidewalk line is?
yeah, if you see almost all the buildings on the street, this one is next door. It's set back. This 142 is set back like maybe 2 feet, maybe 3 feet from this house and all the other houses on the street.
Right. Are you talking about the one to the south?
Yeah, even the one to the south.
Right, which has a little bit, they have like some kind of planting thing in front of it?
It looks like it's
Are
on
you
the
on
side.
Google Earth?
No, this is just
So this is
a
on.
screenshot.
This is from Google Maps. This is the street here.
Right, and they
You
soften.
have this planter bump out, which is
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 feet, and then same thing with 134 Palisade Street. You have the landing that comes out like 6 feet. So
Could you do something like that also in the front of your building to like soften it a little bit?
I was actually thinking of doing that with maybe like a brick, a brick set of planters, somewhat like this, but I
Yeah.
would think a little bigger and, look a little different, but even just to create some separation between the windows and the sidewalk. So,
Yeah, I think that would be an improvement.
You just have to be sure that, it's
Where the property line
where the
is.
property line.
Yeah,
is,
exactly.
Not in the right of way.
Yeah.
Do you have
Yeah.
a survey?
not in front of me, but I can check. But it is, if I compare it to the property next door, you can
Right.
see that their fence and their yard comes out about 2 or 3 feet more than
Yeah.
mine does.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think overall it's an improvement. I just think those few little things might make it a little better.
So so the front, changing the
The
front.
windows, they're like doing differentiating between the sill and the sides and the head of the windows some way, maybe with the dimension of the trim, and putting some kind of greenery or something, if you have the space, between the facade of the building and the edge of the public, wherever the Dobbs Ferry right-of-way ends. Be nice for that to be greened a little.
Yeah, I agree. I would like to do that. So
Otherwise, it's fine.
I will, I'll confirm it with the building inspector before I do anything, but
Okay.
Tony, are you okay if we make that a condition of the approval?
adding that to the front?
And the trim changes.
Okay, so,
Is that
I
too
need,
complicated?
Look,
I know, I just need to know
if
exactly
you
what
guys have
it is.
suggestions on making it look better, I'm perfectly fine with that. Just if I could get an example, or if you're just okay with me proposing something,
Yeah.
I don't know how you'd like to do it, but I'm fine making those changes.
You're trying to go towards the reso.
I mean, you could look sort of at the building at the right. They don't do anything particularly with the head, but the sill is different. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Even I know.
She needs to know, some specifics.
Some language.
If- if we're
Yeah.
So I would say,
Reso.
yeah, like approved subject to,
Survey.
survey to determine whether or not there can be a planter in the front of the building on either side of the entry, and an alternative for the trim to differentiate between the head and the sill and the sides of the window.
The only thing is like, then what if, let's say because of the property line, I can't put the.
Then, yeah, then there's nothing to do. You can't do anything. I appreciate that.
So basically, I just want to confirm if,
Confirm that you have room maybe to do something similar to what you see in the building to the right.
Yeah,
But I agree, if the property line is right at the facade of the building, then,
Well, let's just make it conditional on there being space.
yes, okay,
That-
that's a good
We
idea.
can,
Alan, conditional on there being space between the facade of the building and the public right-of-way, some landscaping, a planter or some other landscaping feature will be provided on, at either side of the entry, something like that.
Valerie?
Wait, so, all right, so we're coming back, sorry.
I'm
We have
sorry.
to, yeah. So, it would be with, rendering subject to potential plantings or, because I heard landscaping, plantings, planters, what are we doing?
Planter.
Planters
Planter.
on either side of the
Okay.
entry.
Subject to potential planters?
Uh-huh.
If these are not, but these planters might not be, they're not gonna be forever, right? Like,
They're
'cause-
brick, they are. Well,
No,
no, that, I think
yeah.
that they, I
Yeah,
think,
so it's gotta
yeah,
be-
no, they're
okay.
like built, right, we
so
should
you
make
want-
that
we want
distinction.
structural
Yeah,
planters,
mhm.
all right.
Similar, yeah. A built planting zone or whatever it
Structural
is
planters on either side of the door.
of the entry. And then differentiation in the scale of the trim around the between the sides and the head and the bottom of the window.
Planters are movable, is that something, can they be on village property?
Not, if
No?
it shouldn't be on village property.
Okay.
They would need a license agreement then.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, then they have to go through a whole thing with
Right,
the board
yeah.
of trustees.
No.
I'm not gonna make them do that.
Okay.
Okay.
You have what you
Is that a
need?
court?
What?
You have what you need?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm ready to move ahead with this. I don't know.
Yes.
Are we ready to take a vote?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry for being
So
late.
Valerie, would you like to read the resolution?
Sure. Whereas the property owner located at 142 Palisades Street is seeking AHRB approval to undertake exterior renovations. Now therefore be resolved, the AHRB at Village of Dobbs Ferry determines that based upon the findings and reasonings set forth below, the application for architectural and historic review approval is granted subject to the following, that it refers to the AHRB submission packet dated October 11th, 2024, with additional renderings, subject to potential structural planters on either side of the entry, an alternative for the window trim, to differentiate between the head and the sides of the windows.
Yep,
Head, sides, and sill.
and sill, I guess.
Oh,
The head,
like that.
sides, and
The
sill.
planter's subject to property line.
Right.
so I'd like to just confirm, like, I can go ahead and get the permit and start ordering the materials? Okay,
Right,
Yes.
Dan? Yeah,
Yeah,
Right.
can't do any work until
You
the
receive
permit's
the
issued,
permit.
yeah.
yeah,
okay,
Thank you, this looks a lot better.
thanks, it's good.
thanks a lot, thank you.
Yep,
We do.
Oh, you vote.
The
you
designs
done?
for the planters, I just get them to Dan, or how does that work?
Okay. Just hold on one second. So I make the motion. Do we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
right,
Okay. Now you're good to go.
No, I was just saying the designs for the planters, if, once we confirm the property line, who do I just bring those to? To the building department?
Yeah,
Yes,
Yes.
Okay,
yeah,
with a copy of the survey.
yeah. And Dan, if you want me to look at it with you or something like that, I can.
we could share it, yeah.
It's fine.
That would be good.
I don't want to make it big.
Thank you,
All right, good luck.
Thank you.
thanks a lot, bye-bye.
it'll look a lot better.
Yeah.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is 70 Washington Avenue, public hearing for a proposed new residential home on existing lot. We have someone here to present that?
Okay, good evening, Robert Sherwood, landscape architect representing the clients. We have been in front of you all a few different times on a preliminary. I took the liberty of kind of creating a little bit of an overall map, as you can see here, kind of an aerial view. So 70 Washington being this parcel that I'm trying to highlight with the mouse. This was a 3-lot subdivision, with the rear lot being lot 1, this being lot 2 at one point, and our lot here, lot 3. There was some discussion in the last meeting. 3 things came up, if I recall correctly. There was concern about the pathway, and this is the old Belden Road, paper road that's here, and there's, I guess, a walking path trail through there. Will not be impacted or affected at all by our application, as you can see. Lot 1 has a 25-foot piece of land that comes up to his property that would house a driveway, or could house a driveway. Currently, we're utilizing the existing driveway that kind of meanders between both properties, and our driveway would then tail off here at the top side of the property.
By the way, so who owns this? The city, Dobbs Ferry owns the,
Hunter's Run.
The paper
Paper
road?
Road,
the paper road?
Dan?
Maybe it doesn't matter, but it's not there. I mean, it's a,
Presumably it's a village.
okay. Okay, sorry.
And
No,
that's
no
where the
worries.
driveway is?
So that was one of the comments that was coming up, so I tried to highlight it with, showing you guys on this map. Thought was a little bit better to kind of visualize what's going on in both properties.
Thank you.
Thanks. It is good.
The other question came up was the driveway grade, percentage of grade. Currently, the driveway goes from about 10%, the steepest part about 12%, and then where our tail comes off up to the proposed residence. As you can see here, we're merging into the existing driveway. We're at that same 10%, a little bit, 12% slope, and then it flattens off towards the top and go into the garage. And the third and final big component with the realignment of these lots was, right now, there's a sewer line that accesses this lot 1. There's a gas line that comes over to lot 2. There's a lot of things going on with the easements
Yeah.
and the utilities. And the question came up, there's a water line that's supposed to come in and have a fire hydrant up in this area of the properties, and there's an easement set up for that, an access easement. We have talked to the water company, Veolia. They did provide a letter on some of their comments. It wasn't, they're not really in favor of having a private water line on a driveway with a hydrant up here. So that's something that we're going to have to discuss with you all.
Well, it can't be a private water line, right? It's got to be a public water main. That's not a water service, right? You've got multiple services
That's
coming off
correct.
of it, right? So Veolia has to own that, right? That was the understanding with them. They don't like the idea of that, but they would have to for this to work, to be configured like this. Anyway. Well, that's going to be key.
Yeah, I was going to say, my eyes started to glaze over when I was reading all the letters about the various easement arrangements. And I'm wondering, like, how do we resolve, like, what's the process for figuring out who owns what and who has to provide what? Here, you should, if you're going to, yeah, you should.
These are the
up
actual
to the
owners of
mic.
the property. Want to speak?
Yeah, you should use the mic.
If you want to speak, you should just use the mic. It's cool for you to speak. It's-
So, the end result is, in anything that we do, obviously there's, I'm trying to move to the next page here. As you can see on the kind of, the plan of attack is to utilize the existing easements and come up and around the property line and provide not sewer and electric and gas to lot 1 through the easement that kind of follows the southern The mouse isn't working too good here, I apologize. That southern property line right here. As you can see right down and through here, there is an existing sewer line that comes up through the property that services, obviously, Lot 1 now. That'll be dismantled, and we were going to utilize it for our property as long as it scopes and it works well. And then our water line was going to go out per the approved subdivision map to that water line that comes up the common driveway. So the utilities will be put in, they will be rearranged per all the easements. The hurdle is that trying to get the water company to make sure that everything's in line with that. And so if that is something that is a cog in the wheel and they don't want, we'll have to bring water lines all the way down to the street, I guess.
That seems like something we need to resolve.
Yeah, Anthony, do you like, what has to
I
happen?
I guess the linchpin is that the subdivision seemed to have required a fire hydrant there.
Yeah.
So that, I think that was the driving factor, because you could route water lines down to Washington. I mean, you could do that. So like, you don't have to have two water services connecting to that run. So I think that the requirement is really about this fire hydrant. So, and that's been discussed. We've mentioned that before. And I think the fire department was set on needing a hydrant there, as far as I understand. So that would have to be, that requirement would have to be removed, you know, and the fire hydrant, the fire department would have to agree to that.
You mean the fire department wanted it back when the subdivision?
When the subdivision was approved, right? It's shown on the subdivision plat. That's been kind of a
So should we-
ongoing theme here about with this fire hydrant, and if they could not do it or change it, or, you know.
So how do we interface with the fire department on something like this? How does that happen usually?
We spoke to them, they said they did want the fire hydrant, so.
And Viola doesn't,
We
I
haven't
didn't see
heard
that letter.
anything from Viola. about it.
Yeah,
We'll
I mean,
submit-
you know,
we'll
there's-
submit the
But it's
letter.
also a legal issue because the subdivision
Yeah,
was
you need-
approved with that hydrant being there.
Yeah,
So I don't see how Veolia could deny them the water main when that's an approval of building on that lot. It's like,
I don't know.
because we can't give the approval
right.
I'm sorry?
without having a hydrant.
it was part
Saying
of
we
the
can't.
subdivision.
Right.
Correct.
So we're the lock.
So we'll have to force our hand with the water company.
Presumably,
and-
when the subdivision was signed and approved by the county health department, they got a letter from, maybe it wasn't Veolia, it was maybe United Water back then?
No, Rochelle, I think.
New Rochelle Water, and
Bell Telephone.
that they were okay with the plat and the subdivision. So I would think you got a case there that they would, whoever they were in the past, they agreed to it at some point,
Yeah.
you know? Now, there's other things you could do, like agree to maintain the pipe or something, you know, and I don't know if that would be, you know, something that's possible to be done, but.
And why does the, why does the burden of the fire department fall to this applicant as opposed to the other people who have built in the subdivision?
Well, no, that was part of the original agreement, and that was what was decided at that point in time. Like, so I don't know if it was there was, you know, a technical burden, it might have just been what was decided during that.
Okay.
Probably a safety.
The subdivision had some kind of conditions
Right.
about building the, you
Right.
know, putting the fire hydrant in and the water main and, yeah.
Either way, it seems like that's got to be resolved before we approve the project.
There was also a discussion really early on about putting in just a hydrant without connecting it, and that didn't make sense, and the fire department was, they didn't want a hydrant that they would not connected and have somebody else go up there to, put out a fire.
Be an
mutual aid or
interesting
something,
situation.
shelter,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
There's no water.
That's a safety
But we referred back to the subdivision plan on that.
I've seen those in dog runs.
Yeah.
So as we're stuck in a quagmire, and our client really, obviously he wants to build. He's held this property for years and years without
Yeah.
doing anything. He wants to get the process started and the build. I guess the onus is on us then to force them to do it, or else we have to try to change a legal subdivision plat. And they better have a good reason being. Is that something that can happen in the planning and legal terms? Well, if they say no, our hands are tied. They're not going to allow us to do it. So where do we go to?
Why don't you find the will serve letter that had to be filed with the subdivision originally from whatever water department, whatever they were called then.
There was some will serve letter that was part of the correspondence. I don't know if it was the right, right?
You know, there's gotta be
There was a
something on the
PDF
file.
of an earlier letter. Do we have any other issues, though, the planning board? Like, if they got this resolved, is everything else
Well-
okay with us?
Well, I have an issue. So the landscape architect memo from October 7th talks about a substantial deficit of replanted trees and says that, if you can't, if that goes forward as is, I just ran the numbers and that would be a $78,000 fee. And so I want you guys to understand that that's a substantial number. And, if you don't want to change, if the landscape plan has not been updated or changed to minimize that.
I would have to plant a nursery to meet your requirements. So there's really, our hands are tied as a, I mean,
why?
we can plant the trees.
Well, you could cut
They
down
will be
fewer
removed
ones, right?
within a few years.
You could be more aggressive or more creative about preserving more of the existing trees, right? You're talking about the replacement
mean, let's-
requirement, right, Alan?
Yes.
We could get into an argument that we're cutting down probably, a lot of the trees that are on that site are Norway maples, which are an invasive species. So we really are getting penalized for an invasive species. in the code.
Don't make that argument, because it won't work.
I understand that,
Okay,
but I'm
okay.
making.
I'm sympathetic to
saying
it.
it. So
I know Alan is sympathetic to that,
get-
too.
Get more creative
I'm
on
not.
where we can plant trees. We can't
Yeah,
plant
maybe,
200
but-
trees on a piece of property.
We don't create the rules. We just apply them.
Understood. I mean, that's another thing that the developer is going to take it on the chin and have to cough up the money to develop his lot.
Okay, I just don't want this to be a surprise down the road.
We've discussed that. I mean, I can,
Could they appeal to the tree commission?
No, there's no appeal process.
Oh.
They can look at their landscaping plan again and add something else to it.
Or
if they'd
cut
like,
down,
or-
figure out a way to
Right.
cut down a few less trees or
Yes.
whatever, which is what it's meant to incentivize.
so when, you're developing a big lot, we have cross easements that we have to obviously serve other pieces of property with new water and sewer and gas. There's not a whole lot of area where we can minimize. It's,
Yeah, we're not hostile to the project, they're just like a bunch of rules, really, that we don't have much to say about.
well, no, I understand.
Yeah.
I think the rules were probably intended for, like, this is, there's not a whole lot of empty lots in your thing, and it's a big lot, and they're only putting one house on it, and so you need a long
agree.
driveway, you need, it's just how it goes, so.
No, I agree
Understood.
that if you have a heavily forested lot, it's a bit unfair, but, you really should take that up with the Board of Trustees. They're the ones
Yeah, no,
that do that.
We're not arguing it, so we understand it. Yes, I probably can sneak in a few more things, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to make a substantial difference on the overall impact. And then they're going to be overplanted, and they're going to be cutting them down.
Valerie, so what is, I'm embarrassed that I haven't even asked this, but like, what's the relationship between us and the tree commission in terms of these kinds of things?
So the
Like
way the tree regulations work is that when a site plan's before you, you review the landscaping plan at the same time. The tree commission's for if somebody is going to cut down trees outside of a site plan. That being said, you can always ask the tree commission to review a plan, but they can't come back and reduce the overall. Like right now, the code is the code. They can't alter the fee in lieu of.
Yeah,
And there's
I
nothing in
remember-
there for us to waive
I
any of
remember
it
we
either.
No, there's
Okay.
not. I mean, I
Had a
think
long discussion about this, right?
Right, I think the tree commission's looking into some,
Yeah, discretionary,
but it's gotta be black and white, the discretionary, it can't be that
Yeah.
kind of gray area.
Yeah.
So that's,
okay.
All right, so should we continue this until the Viola water issue gets resolved?
So this is a public hearing, right?
Oh,
Oh, it is. We
Okay.
haven't opened it
You have
yet,
to open it, and then if the public has a comment.
right? Okay, I move that we open the public hearing. Do we have a second?
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Is there anyone here who would like to speak to this application?
you're a real voter now. You've been promoted.
Excuse me. Good evening. Dwight Weld, owner of 60 Washington. My wife would be here with me as well, but we've got a child recovering from walking pneumonia. Feels like I have it now too, after running from the train station, so excuse me.
That doesn't, we have no sympathy for people who come here with
Use the
small children. They come here
Nice
with small
innocuous.
children and with medical.
Sick children.
Right, small.
Most of the reasons that I just wanted to be here is to document the things that we've already talked about, which are, first of all, I'm very sensitive to the fact that this may sound like NIMBYism. This is not. We're excited to have some clarity on the home being built behind us. We're lot 2 here. 3 things, and we did submit a letter. I'm not sure if, okay, that was
saw it.
received. So really just reiterating that, which was, 1, the significant kind of privacy issues of the significant size of the lot and the placement of the property. I'm not a topographer, I don't know geology, but it seems like the lot or the proposed building is rather close to the 2 adjacent lots. Kind of dovetailing with that is the trees, which we've talked about already. There's a significant amount of forestry that we've been used to seeing. We'd like the board and developers to recognize that and preserve that as much as possible. We did notice that in the landscape plan, there was the proposal for a number of green giants along the fence line. However, that is also where there's a utility easement, which it was recommended that trees should not go in that utility easement, so just wanted to raise that issue as well. And then lastly, it sounds like there's still work to be done, but we were reminded, we've been in the home for 3 years, we were reminded this past July when half the town came to our property because there was a gas line leak. Our gas line at 60 Washington is wishboned off of the line from 70 Washington. There's not a direct line for us. The previous owner went to kind of great lengths and actually worked with the developer to put in plans to try and get a direct line from Con Ed. Con Ed has not wanted to do that. It sounds like the same issue with the water as well, but our service would be tremendously disrupted without some sort of figuring out of the spaghetti of these utilities. I believe our electric is going to 86 Belden, and our water may be kind of commingled as well. So we just wanted to raise those issues, make sure that before this property gets underway, that we're not negatively affected
Yep.
for our current services that we've been having for the last 3 years.
I've forgotten, thank you. I forgotten all the letters we've gotten. Did we get one from is this one of the projects where we asked our landscape architect? Or on-call in?
We have a memo.
Yeah, we have a memo, right?
right.
I have a question on the gas service and maybe the electric services that go through 70 and maybe 86. Do you have easements through those properties?
I don't believe we do. I
Oh.
don't think there was, it sounded like from when Con Ed came out to fix the leak that we had, that they discovered that
They just
that
decided to-
shouldn't have been there.
I'm off another
And they-
service
yes.
from someone else's
And
property.
they had sort of said, we'll deal with, let's triage this problem, let's fix this, but that's going to be needed to be fixed later. The previous homeowner, we have documentation that he had worked with Con Ed to try and get a direct line, but they don't want to do that. Sounds like Veolia as well.
It might be easier if the developer is willing to give you an easement. If Con Ed's okay with that arrangement, obviously they are, they put it in that way. They probably shouldn't have.
I think they shouldn't have.
But I don't know if, I think it's more like you need an easement if you want to continue it that way, otherwise you have to have a direct connection.
So we've
out to
reached
the
out
road.
to Con Ed. they've sort of, I think they're very aware of these issues with the three properties. I imagine my neighbor will be talking to this as well, that they want to figure out how 86 Belden is also tied into this as well. So we've been kind of.
86 Belden is lot 1 in the back,
Correct.
right? Yeah.
To sort of slow play this. But, yeah, I don't think that our gas line was intended to be wishboned off of that service line, but it is. Just wanted to raise those issues as.
No, thank you. This is getting more complicated as the evening goes on.
And this is not a-
Anthony, can we do a full review of all of the utilities and their easements and how these 3 lots are going to go forward without, you know, they're supposed to have
Well, I mean,
individual connections to the mains, right?
We've done that, and I don't know if there's anything else for us to decide. I mean, if 60 Washington has a line going, a gas line that goes into his property on 70, I'm not sure how it's the owner of
I think it
70's
comes-
issue. I think he needs an easement from him, or he needs to have a direct line out to Washington. Whether, just because Con Ed decided to put it in the wrong way, or another lot.
Have you looked
I'm
at
not sure
just
that's something
trenching
for
out
us to figure
to,
out.
what about Fergie?
Sorry?
Or, you know, whatever, have you looked at what it would take to trench out and put a new
I
gas
believe,
line out to the street?
Gas line in.
The infrastructure was put in place by the previous owner, but Con Ed, I think the messaging was they didn't want to do anything until something happened with 70 Washington. Again, the communication with Con Ed has not been swift or
Yeah.
clear or easy.
So you say that there's already a pipe trenched in.
I believe so, yes.
Wow.
And there's a utility pole for electric as well, because I think our electric is all mishmashed as well.
But it's in that existing easement, right? That comes up?
I don't know, that's what we were trying to figure out.
There's an easement that
Right, that
goes
goes right over
butts
to
up
their.
against 60, right? That goes
Right.
for the lot in the back. Does that have a gas service?
It wasn't contemplated for their property.
Okay.
Can you pull up the
Can
drawing?
you pull up the
on that?
utility plan, maybe?
Or the utility?
Or something that shows, oh, there's a gas line here, that's right up against his property. He just needs a price for that easement.
60 Washington, 86 Belden, 111 LaFergie, and 70 Washington.
So I might be able to answer some of these questions. I've done a little bit of research. The original, it seems
say
like
your name
when
for
the
the
original subdivision was done.
Excuse me,
Sorry.
could you just identify yourself for the record?
I'm Alex Chilton. I'm the owner of 86 Belden. I guess that's lot 1. So we can add
Yeah.
three people to the very simple situation that you have in front of you this evening. It seems that when the original subdivision was done, that utilities were not contemplated for 68 Washington, so there are no easements. And in fact, on the subdivision map, there's a note that says that that arrow there, that house is supposed to be removed. That's Dwight's house. I'm sure that that was not contemplated as something that the village should do.
Well, I don't
So,
know.
I mean, the problem is, it seems like the original subdivision doesn't really contemplate some of the work that's trying to be done this evening, and it's creating a lot of problems. I think the problem for the Racanellis is that they'd like to build a house, and, you know, both Dwight and I are open to that. I think the problem for us is Dwight would like to have power and gas, right? Right now, the power comes into my house in a transformer over here. Oh, yeah, here.
We're recording this. This is a good overview.
This is great. Power comes into my house here in a transformer, and then it gets loaded back to his house there without any easements. And that was approved, I guess, when the subdivision was done, probably incorrectly. This is a note that says the house is supposed to be removed, which is probably also incorrect. And then also, I guess for me, there's an 8-inch water main that's supposed to be built that serves Lot 3 and then also just serves me. So you have 2 homes off of an 8-inch water main that Veolia wrote a letter that said that they're worried about water quality problems for me if a main goes in with a dead end and a fire hydrant. So that makes me nervous and worried about my own water quality. So it seems like this could be done in a very simple way, where we could all just go get some of the things that we need from the street. And my ask for the village is, could you help us potentially get this done in a way that's not crazy and not costly, and let Tony build his home and let's Dwight have power and electricity? Like, I'm not against this. We just,
Yeah.
like, water and gas and sewer, and I think Dwight feels the same way, and I think Tony wants to build his house, and I think there's like an original situation. I'd love some help from the village to understand. I bought my house in 2016, way after this was all done, and I've probably put about 100 hours into it, trying to understand what the village and everyone was thinking back then, and none of us are original owners. So my ask is maybe for a little bit of help trying to understand how we got to this place from you all.
What's the date of the subdivision? Do we know?
I think like 11 or 2011, 2012, or was that,
Sorry?
is it, I don't remember. 2000,
Earlier.
It was before me,
What's that say right there, 2011?
2011.
2011. December 11.
I'm happy to talk with anyone and try and, confer some of the knowledge that I've done through the research and where everything is and the problems that exist. But I think we need a little bit of help from the village just to get this done in like a cost-efficient and like not a crazy way for all three of us. And some of it comes to how the original subdivision was approved. And it seems like there might have been some things that maybe weren't exactly contemplated the right way. So I don't know how we go about this exactly, but if I could have that help, that'd be fantastic.
Typically, the subdivision maps they don't always have gas and electric lines shown. It's just, really the sewer and the water. I don't know if that had any gas and electric shown on it. I can't tell.
It does.
Like it does through the
Yeah,
easement.
It does? Okay. So there's that easement that comes through Lot 3 that goes now to serve 86 Belden, right? And it runs along the property line for 60, right? That's to have a gas service in it,
So that easement is supposed to have the gas service to connect to my house.
connect to your house.
Now, the
right?
fun thing is that Con Ed says that you're not allowed to do any connecting because the pipes are from 1920. So another potential contemplated problem with the easements.
No services come from Lafergie?
Con Ed says they will not pull anything from Lafergie. We asked them.
So they have an old gas main in Washington, is that the problem?
Yes.
Yeah. So like a lot of things just like didn't turn out the way that people expected them to. And it's probably going to be a good cost to myself and to Tony to go and fix it and get stuff from the street. But it'd be nice to not have to do it in a completely illogical way. I respect that you've been.
Well, having an overview is very useful.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm not sure what it is you're asking us to help with. You've got to come up with a plan.
Well, for me, it
Three
would
of the three
be not
property
having
owners
an.
Come up with a plan.
For me, it would be not having an 8-inch water main and a fire hydrant to serve one house where, the house has existed since, I think, 1917, depending on the records. Veolia is suggesting not having that and saying the water quality could be dangerous, suggesting also not having a fire hydrant. But if one is absolutely needed, to put it at the street, not halfway up the piece, that would be very nice for me.
So dead-end water mains are discouraged, but they're not done. They're done. It's just a matter of flushing fire hydrants often.
I
Oh, they
am
don't
an
want it.
uninformed
They don't
person that
like
got a
the
letter
idea of
from a
having
water
it.
company that
Right.
said that the water
Right.
quality could potentially be bad, which makes me worry a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And what I think we could do is, come back hopefully with a proposal that could clean some of this up for you all. But we might need a little bit of leeway from you all that it might be a little bit different than what was originally approved. But hopefully very logical and nice so that it's not crisscrossing all over the place. And we can.
So Anthony, is the concern about the large, you talk about a large pipe with a small flow issue?
Yeah, you'd rather have a loop connection, not a dead-end connection, so it's always kind of flowing.
Got it.
But there are dead-end water mains.
But you could put a small pipe next to the larger pipe that would just serve their house, right? A 1-inch pipe,
They could run a water service all the way out.
and that would resolve that issue.
You could
It
do
would
that
resolve it.
I was
irregardless
just
of.
throwing off that water main too, that are,
No, but here's the thing, they don't need to connect to that with their service.
No,
They could
but-
connect, they could build a water main, it could be a 6-inch water main, first of all, and do a fire hydrant at the end, and no one has to connect to it. You could connect down on Washington.
Again, Anthony, that's putting a financial burden on the client again.
Well, then redo the subdivision. I mean,
Well,
I'm telling
it
you.
almost looks like the subdivision in these lots should never have been sold until these lots all conform to the subdivision plat. You know what I mean? So now here we are 20 years later.
Right.
We're getting.
Well, I don't think we can overrule the fire department saying there needs to be a fire hydrant.
I think, Dan, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, I know you're looking for help, and I think everybody's, cognizant of the fact that you need some help, but it's not the village's position to take a position on that. You'll have to deal with the water company, you have to deal with Con Ed. I don't think the village is going to have much sway with Con Ed, frankly. But, so I don't know what you want us to do. I think the question was asked. As far as the subdivision, if you have to do a re-subdivision, you'll have to determine whether or not that's going to resolve the issues.
Well, I'm sorry, it seems like the village is potentially enforcing portions of the subdivision and not others.
How so?
I mean, if you go through the subdivision, it says there aren't supposed to be houses there that are, and there aren't supposed to be
I think,
electrical services that are, and, it seems like there was a mistake, and I understand the position that you're taking, but it doesn't seem fair to pick and choose the rules that you're gonna enforce.
I think there just needs to be a little bit of clarity. So the subdivision requirements that are being enforced are where easements are supposed to be. And then also specifically when it refers to notes on the plat, which says what is going to be included in terms of like the fire hydrant, it specifically says who's required to do that. Other things, whether it's a gas main or something else that gets laid out, that's during your site plan review.
Yeah, I
as
mean,
opposed to subdivision.
I don't know that the easements change, that's gonna be a re-subdivision.
Right.
I think easements could be changed and could be filed, and you could file any easements you like,
Yeah, but-
you know?
On the subdivision, there is a file on the county map. Each lot have an obligation what to do for the gas and service to disconnect where they come from. They're supposed to connect on Washington Avenue. So lot 2 is in the file map in the county. It shows where the obligation is from 2011. There's so time to disconnect electric, water, gas, and sewer to connect on 70 Washington Avenue. Then the people before, they did some sewer and water, they connect to Washington Avenue. But this electric and gas, they never change. And then on the subdivision map, it shows the building is supposed to remove before they do working. So on the map, subdivision map, the building, it is to file everything on the county. The building is still there. And this whole thing, they go with the land. So it's not like stuff. So it shows everything goes with the land. So the building's supposed to knock it down in 2011, nobody knocked it down. But the obligation goes with the land. He goes and file the subdivision map. Everything is on county, file and everything. So anybody can go, you file everything. So nothing to do with the building. They want the gas and electric, but the building is supposed to be there either. And the people before, they move the electric, they move the sewer and water, but electric and gas, it never moved because it costs a lot of money. But it's nothing to do anything. So the guy say, once gas, Canelson, you pay Canelson, you won't bring the gas from Washington Avenue. But far away from the street, you got to pay for because only allowed you 100 feet from the street or 50 feet, whatever they allowed Canelson. But you got to pay for it. Otherwise, the Canelson, they will never bring the gas or the electric. And there is already pole set. The other guy before him is supposed to do the electric, but he never changed. He never disconnected because in a subdivision and the file map, it shows they're supposed to disconnect everything from where they come from and connect to Washington Avenue.
Does the board,
So nobody wants to do nothing now, come everything.
I mean, the board could give, could just have the applicant and the two property owners, sort it out maybe for like a month and see if there's some sort of, if they can come to some sort of agreement on this. And then if for some reason the easements have to change, Dan, then we can deal with what that would be.
I really feel strongly that this has got to be worked out. Even if it doesn't all get implemented immediately, there has to be a plan for how this is going to be implemented going forward for everybody
It sounds like
before we
you were-
approve a site
Right,
plan.
it sounds like you were implying there's like a better way to do it.
Well, my ask is,
Let's
you know,
see it.
my ask
Put it on the
is,
plan.
is that the, you know, requirement for the fire hydrant be removed to the street, and instead of an 8-inch water main, that each of our houses can get water from the street. Now, I've asked if I could have a conversation with the fire department, but I haven't been provided any names yet. So I'd love to potentially do that and to ask if fire hydrant could potentially be located in a different location, given how long the house has been there without one. And I very much understand that's not what's written, but there's a lot of other things that are written there that are also wrong and not being enforced. So I'm asking for a little bit of a partnership to have that conversation to see if I can get some leeway from the village to move that to the street or remove it, and then I could come back with a plan. But if I can't have those conversations or get the contact information from the fire department, it makes it very difficult, because now it's a very strange situation that we have with Veolia, who doesn't want to put it in, and the fire department that wants it. I'm now trying to resolve a conflict between two people that don't really want to pick up my telephone call. And I don't really
You
think
don't
that's a
wa- You don't want to
fair,
put the fire hydrant in because Veolia is saying they don't want to do it. That's the reason.
because Veolia is saying they don't want to do it. I don't understand why my house needs, why I have to pay to put a fire hydrant. They're not cheap.
Could we see the letter from Veolia? Could you send that?
Yeah.
So we could, you know,
I can email it now
but I
or
seem to,
later.
I would think that they agreed, what a department was at some point agreed to this subdivision and signed off on it in whatever year that was approved.
In the letter, they also say that, in their opinion, it's not necessary, but I also understand that Veolia is not the fire department. So what I'm asking is for some people to help me with a little bit of connectivity, so I can try and resolve some of these things that you're asking me to resolve.
If Veolia agrees to put the fire hydrant in with a dead-end line to own it, then you're okay with it.
I mean, still, I would prefer not to. But obviously, we'll do whatever is eventually required.
Well, is it unreasonable to ask the fire department to take a second look at this? And,
I could
you know,
have a
if
look at it
If they say
again.
we gotta have a hydrant there, then they gotta have a hydrant there, but.
I could have them look at it again, but yeah.
It's been over there for 50,
Is it-
100 years.
is
It's
it-
been over there for 100 years, no fire
Well, I
hydrant.
mean, it's.
I understand what you're saying, so here's.
With due respect, like, my question is, like, the owner of the house, if I could participate in a conversation with the fire department. I respect whatever decision they end up making.
Let Dan, our building inspector, contact the fire department, and you hear what he's asking.
Yep.
Let's, you know,
I'll have them review it again.
I really appreciate it. I mean, this has just been a kerfuffle that was not anticipated.
Well, even if
about the
they
house.
review, it, what do we do about the requirements of the subdivision?
Yeah, I'd have to look into that, because it,
Because it was a requirement of the
It's a legal
subdivision.
requirement by subdivision, so.
I mean, there are a number of technical issues that have just come up that I think need to be resolved. And trying to do it here, this is not the
Yeah.
place to do it. So I'd like to continue the public hearing till next month. And Anthony and Dan, you guys take a closer look at this. Does that make sense?
yeah, just let me ask one question for Mr. Racanelli. You had mentioned a different map at the county. Can you get a copy of that?
That map is be filed in the county.
Oh, that one?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. No, wait.
everything, that map is be filed in the county, all the duty, each lot.
No, no,
I mean,
I'm
I
just-
could give you,
Yeah, no, I'm just asking, is there some other map that we don't have?
no, that's a map.
Okay, that's okay.
No,
That's
because
the
the
one we
map, it
have.
shows the building
We
is
have
supposed to
that.
be removed.
Right.
So, and nobody did, they know, also they move in, but, you know,
Right.
So Dan, I think, I think what the gentleman who's just speaking said is whether or not he can be part, I think, physically in the same room when we have the discussion with the fire department.
Correct.
Is that something we can do?
Yeah, well, I'll speak to them, but like I said, I don't know. if
Because it's
that-
easy, yeah.
That's gonna, that'll also be up to the fire department.
What?
You know, they may not want to meet with the,
Meet with the
Yeah,
applicant or with that
I'm not
owner?
saying that they won't. I'm just-
Yeah.
We understand they
I
might,
think we should encourage it. I'm,
We'll at least put it forward.
yeah.
I'm just saying.
we can also,
I'm
we
just, I
want to
can't
forward you
guarantee
the
that
letter
somebody's
from
gonna come to
Bill.
a meeting if somebody's there. I'm not necessarily.
No, the fire department has its own,
I'm just saying as a possibility. Just don't be disappointed if the fire department doesn't come to a meeting like that. If they meet with the building inspector, you know, he understands the issues that you're facing and could, you know.
Advocate for it.
Exactly. I'm not saying it won't happen, by the way.
I very much respect all of that, by the way, and appreciate the
Yeah.
consideration. Is there someone that I would email with or correspond with to, you know, send the letter from Veolia or?
To the building department.
Yes, Dan.
Dan Romer. Okay.
as well.
I'm assuming the email's on a website somewhere.
Yes.
Yes.
Appreciate it. Nice to meet you, by the way.
Thank
Yeah, yeah.
Good luck.
Okay, so if we're going to continue this to next month,
Yes.
Yeah.
and we're going to hopefully come back next month with all these utilities worked out. That's our goal.
Like get an overview of, and also it seems like Veolia might have, could they come from Lafergie or they're only going to come from Washington if they do anything?
Well, this is one of the details
Yeah,
that's got to be
Yeah,
worked
yeah, I
out.
mean, it's just like,
Yeah, I
what's the whole landscape?
Yeah. But we're talking about water, sewer, electric, gas, unless people want to go
Chairman.
fully electric.
the electric and gas, we can't resolve that issue. That's between the property owners and Con Edison.
The water and the.
Again,
We don't get
really
involved.
the only
Well, but they have to
outstanding,
have a path. They have to have an easement for those to
There's
traverse.
easements that are on the subdivision, if they
Right.
could use those, or if they want to change they want to change the easements, then we could discuss, is that a re-subdivision? What is that? You know,
Well, I'd just like to make sure that those easements
We can't-
exist that will
can't
satisfy that
work out
requirement.
with Con Ed gas.
No, I completely understand that.
We're not doing that.
Right.
We can't do that.
But we need to make sure there's a plan in place that will work and eliminate these confusing.
And if there was,
confusing
and if we, and the decision was to sort of to revise the subdivision, what's the fastest that could happen?
Revise subdivision?
Yeah.
They're preparing a whole new plat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have to do.
no,
Months.
the applicant's truly not interested in
Okay.
doing that at this point. I mean,
Okay.
again, one closing statement will be, is, as Alex, the neighbor, had said, you're holding us to certain things and not others. The simple explanation and how we're going to clean up these utility easements is follow this map. And Lot 70 is responsible for whatever it says on the filed documents, and this gentleman down here, he's responsible for either A, working an easement out with the client or whatever. I mean, I don't know where we're going with this, but we'll figure it out for the next meeting.
And we'll certainly look at the issue of if the fire department says they don't need a hydrant, does not providing it.
You know, there's other
Problem with
options.
this-
Maybe we
yeah.
could do a water storage tank if they're worried about fire suppression. Maybe we
But
could
I'm
do
just,
something like
I'm just
that.
saying, as far as the subdivision, being consistent with the subdivision plat, we'll find out if an easement is
And if you could submit that letter from Veolia.
Absolutely.
helpful.
Thank you.
When you're saying, we're enforcing things selectively, when the subdivision plat was approved, the village didn't tell you have to run a gas main at a certain spot. That
No,
was
understood.
presented
Anthony,
by the subdivider, because that's the way you wanted to do it. The village
I-
did say you have to put a fire hydrant in.
Understood, but with
So
the
where you run a
existing,
gas line really doesn't matter to the village. Where you run the electric doesn't really matter.
we
You need
understand
another
that.
easement,
So
so
we-
the selective approvals is not true.
The client feels as if we follow this map, this is the easement that we're going to follow. We
Then
understand.
follow
that.
it, and do
But-
this.
But you would just come up that another client, another landowner nearby is accessing gas and electric, and he says that he can't get it. So it's putting a quagmire into the whole process for our lot. Understood? So now we're like,
We have no role in dealing with that part.
and that was my point. We'll follow the map, and then, this, gentleman down in,
Yeah, but the gas
He's-
is covered from Washington Avenue. I mean, he could do that. You
Talk
don't
to
need an
Con Ed.
easement.
Talk to Con Ed about the
No,
gas.
you don't need an easement to bring the gas electric because it's belong to Washington Avenue.
Well,
It's
then,
got from
yeah.
the yard on Washington Avenue. You don't need an easement because it's right on property, huh?
All right.
On the road, you don't need an easement. I mean, what do the work, that's a different thing. We don't need an easement because it's right on Washington
Okay,
Avenue.
so we're gonna clarify this for next
Public
month.
hearing, figure out the easement, water line's the big one.
So this will be adjourned to December.
Thank you.
5.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have to make a motion to that effect, right?
I would.
Yeah, so I move that we continue the public hearing until December 5th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, good luck.
Thank you. Good luck.
This crazy one, wow.
Yeah, it's so funny. Sometimes when
That might be on the-
what are those up there?
Oh, there's a post here, right?
Give you this one back. Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is 111 Lafergie Avenue, public hearing for preliminary plat approval for proposed three-lot subdivision to include 2 proposed dwellings and 1 existing dwelling.
So I just want to make a note with the board. So the applicant originally submitted a lot of information, including like architectural drawings and stuff. And internally, we spoke and we felt that this is just for plat, preliminary plat only. They have to come back for final plat. And when they come back for final plat, they can deal with the site plan and the architectural elements.
Okay.
Understood.
This is Mohican Park?
No, 111 Lafergie.
Oh.
And the plat meets all the legal
Do
requirements?
we have someone to speak to 111 Lafergie?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? I'm sorry. Hi. How you doing? This is Nicholas Shariah. I'm with Hudson Engineering. I'm representing the applicant, Tony Racanelli, for the subdivision 111 Lafergie Avenue. If you permit me, I can go ahead and share my screen. I can start
Yes.
presentation. Yes?
Yep,
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay, 111 Lafergie Avenue is a 2.58 acre lot located at the corner of Belden Avenue and Lafergie Avenue. The owners are seeking to subdivide the property into 3 lots with the existing single-family dwelling to remain, and 2 new single-family dwellings are proposed for the subdivided portions. This is the preliminary plat that was prepared, just showing the outline of the 2 new lots. Let's see. I'm going to go to a map of the existing conditions of the site and what we're proposing. So for the lot, the existing driveway, a portion of the existing driveway and some trees on the property are marked for removal. These trees are either within the footprint of the proposed dwellings or the proposed driveways, or will be too close in proximity to the proposed work and would be adversely affected. Our previous plan showed 33 trees for removal. However, we have revised our grading plan and reduced that number to 19 trees total for removal. I'll go down to our...
Wouldn't that be part of the site plan, not
Yes,
subdivision?
that's correct.
Oh,
That's correct.
yes. I just figured I would give you guys an overall view of what we're planning to do on the lot.
Yeah, that's helpful.
I don't know if it applies tonight, but
No, let's
Let's
just
go
keep it
through it
simple.
anyway.
Let's focus on
Oh.
the subdivision.
sure, no problem. The subdivided lots are a little over half acre each. I'll go to the zoning tables that we prepared here. All the lots meet the requirements for the OF2 district. I've gone through the tables B3, B-3 through B-7, the sliding scale rule that applies to all these lots. And we've made sure that all lots are within or meet those requirements, those setbacks, those lot coverages for what we're proposing. For utilities for these new lots, we are proposing 2 new domestic water service connections off of Lafergie Avenue. For the sanitary sewer, we are proposing a sewer main extension that will begin on the northern part of the lot on Belden Avenue. We would do a main extension from there onto Lafergie Avenue and connect to the manhole that is at Cricket Lane and Lafergie Avenue.
Right, and I think the utilities is still going to be looked at as part of the next step as well.
So that's site
Yes.
plan as well.
Right.
As long
Okay.
as they're,
Yeah, so I think it's just the preliminary, you have your plat.
Yes, I'll go back
Yeah,
to
the
that page
actual-
so you guys
actual
can
plat,
see it.
yeah, there you go.
Sure.
are there
problem.
any utility easements required for this subdivision?
Why do you
No.
I'm afraid to ask.
Like, why would that matter, really?
No. For this subdivision, no utilities are needed for. No easements are needed for approval on this one.
Thank you.
The sewer main is going to be a public sewer main, so
Yes.
it will need, you know, a will serve letter from the village, and we'll need to see some backup on sewer capacity and adequacy from the engineer at that time.
Now, is that part of
Right.
site plan, or is that part of,
We would need that
Subdivision.
before, well, he would need that, it would need that before the health department signs off on the subdivision. So
Okay.
that
So-
can happen at the next stage if they like.
so you clear on that there's a sewer capacity and health department requirement for the subdivision?
Yes. Yes, I believe at the last meeting we discussed that I would need to provide some documentation on that, and we're working on that. We will get that for the next meeting, for the next submission. Excuse me.
But that's only required for the final approval, correct?
Right, right. Then they'll need the same kind of certification from Veolia Water that they're willing to serve the two new lots at that time.
Okay. Any members of the board have questions about this subdivision?
Is there a question about whether Belden is a private road, or a paper street, rather?
Well, that was asked earlier.
It is.
Right?
Yeah, it is an unimproved road, but we haven't had any discussion as to whether we can't connect or we can't extend the sewer on that side of Belden. If we were to do a sewer extension, we could do it on Lafergie, but obviously there would be some kind of easement needed for the lot two or lot 3 to connect if we were to explicitly go through Lafergie Avenue only.
Ardsley Country Club has an agreement. They'd be able to use that road as their cart path.
About Belden?
Yeah.
I have an easement on it too.
So,
On the paper street?
Oh, my God.
Do they,
Get out of my house as well.
do they need an easement for the sewer main, or is it, do they have a right to use it as a road? I think that's something we should confirm.
To use Belden?
To use the Belden paper street to put a sewer main in there,
That's what it is.
Well, we have
right?
another application that's doing that.
Right, right. We know that it's a paper street right of way.
But this one may
Village
be
of
owned by,
Dobbsbury.
but this one may be owned by the village, is what
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so they would need an,
And the sewer main would be the village's sewer main as well.
right.
And again, I suppose their frontage is on Belden Avenue? That's how they're satisfying frontage?
No, for,
Frontage
No,
would be on
Lafergie,
Lafergie.
right?
Yes.
The flag,
There's a
So the
flag portion of
doesn't
the lot
need
for
a
lot 3.
variance?
no.
which meets whatever what is it,
25 feet.
25
I
feet?
believe.
Oh, okay.
And the 3 lots will come out to Lafergie. Got it.
So how does the second house meet 25 feet?
There's the flag.
Flag lot.
That flag, the end of the flag is 25 feet. Yes.
The flagpole.
Yeah, right.
That right there.
the only reason I brought it up is if there's a licensing village. To have the cart path there, can a sewer go?
Yeah,
on
we'd
that
have to,
portion if there's a licensing agreement.
the question is about the golf club having a license.
Yeah, but a cart path is 6 feet wide and the street is 35 feet wide, right, or something, so.
Yeah, it
wouldn't
seems like there'd be
They could
room
share.
for a
Yeah,
sewer line or water line.
and it's on the ground.
They don't get exclusive rights to
It's a
it, right?
manhole.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
And your driveway doesn't go out to Lafergie.
Under the driveway.
No.
It does.
Oh, excuse me, sir?
Yes.
Your driveway?
Yes.
Your
Both driveways
driveway,
front.
Do you exit on Lafergie or Washington?
Yes, on Lafergie Avenue.
No,
Oh,
I'm talking
sorry.
about
This gentleman here.
gentleman
Oh,
who's-
okay.
who's here with us.
It
With
goes both
setbacks
ways.
not being person.
So I can exit onto Washington and exit onto Lethbridge,
Oh, or
You can exit
Lafergie.
on what?
both on Washington and Lafergie.
Oh,
His driveway's shared with 70 Washington,
Okay.
Yeah.
and he could,
And there's some,
you have an
think-
agreement with the village to use that street, or?
there are easements and there's also another easement from the country club, so,
Oh, okay.
yeah. I read this one as well, but not as closely, because I didn't think it'd be a topic of conversation. But it's there, and I can send people documents if it's easier.
Well,
to
they're
find
just
them.
saying,
Yeah.
they may be digging up a sewer and you still have to get out of your house. you know.
But I think
Well-
it's only an 8-inch,
I mean,
you know.
so far, Tony and Frank have been very friendly, and hopefully they can keep one of the 2 driveways open for me at any period of time.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, we're surrounded here, but it's been good working with them, and hopefully the village can help me out with a little bit of stuff, given the amount of work going on around the house.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, just based on all that, do we see any technical issues that would keep this subdivision from going forward?
I don't have any.
But I don't. It's just as I said, they'll have to prove out sewer capacity and adequacy,
Before the final
Yes.
approval?
right?
Okay,
So what's our action tonight?
Preliminary?
the preliminary.
You close,
Is there a resolution?
if you're ready, close the public hearing and then vote on preliminary.
Did I open the public hearing yet? I don't think I did.
No, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
Okay,
This is a public hearing.
so I move that we open the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Would anybody like to speak to this?
Crickets.
Anybody online? Okay, I move that we close the public hearing. Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, Valerie, do we have a resolution?
Yes, we do. Whereas the applicant is seeking preliminary plat approval to construct 2 new one-family residences. The property is located at 111 Lafergie Avenue. Whereas the planning board conducted a duly noticed public hearing on November 7th, and it was concluded on November 7th, during which time all those wishing to be heard were given the opportunity to be heard. Now therefore be it resolved, the planning board of the Village of Dobbs Ferry finds that this project is an unlisted action under seeker, and based upon the review of seeker, all applications, materials, and consultant reports that were prepared, the planning board adopts a negative declaration in connection with the project. Be it further resolved, the planning board hereby finds that a proper case exists for requiring that a park be suitably located for a playground or other recreational purposes within the village, and the planning board finds in accordance with section 352J, Reservation Parkland, that a park cannot be suitably located on the property, requiring payment of a fee in accordance with the master fee schedule for 2 additional residential units. And be it further resolved, the planning board of the Village of Dobbs Ferry determines that based upon the findings and reasoning set forth below, the application for site plan approval, preliminary plat approval is granted, subject to the following. And it refers to the approved plans, preliminary plat dated August 17th, 2024. And that the applicant must receive final plat as required by section 371A prior to any issuance or final signatures on plats, and the applicant must address to the full satisfaction to the village any outstanding stormwater and engineering issues submitted to the board as a result of going to the final plat.
I make the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Two. The next item on the agenda is 75 Mohican Park Avenue, public hearing for the proposed plans to construct an addition and deck to existing home. I gather the open engineering items and the open planning items have been resolved from the memos from October.
Yes.
We'd like to hear do you have anything new to present on this project?
No, we addressed, I hope, in full the concerns from the building department's standpoint and also the engineering.
Okay. Do members of the board have any questions about this project?
No.
Okay. Do we have any other technical issues? Okay, this is a public hearing.
Yep.
I move that we open the public hearing. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Would anybody like to speak to this application? Nobody's online either? Okay, I move that we close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we have resolutions.
I do. Hold on. All right, so first is, the applicant is seeking site plan approval to construct an addition. The property is located at 75 Mohican Park Avenue. Whereas, or actually, I'll just go to, now therefore be it resolved, the planning board of the Village of Dobbs Ferry determines that based upon the findings and reasoning set forth below, the application for site plan approval is granted subject to the following, and it specifically refers to the site, plan set dated October 14th, 2024. And then as typical, the typical conditions deal with the engineering, that the applicant must meet the replacement of 50% of the total aggregate diameter of trees proposed for the removal of trees per section 300-51I. Conditions prior to the issuance of the permit, that the applicant must pay whatever fees in lieu of in terms of the balance of replanting plan. And those are the only conditions for this particular project.
I make the motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And the next one?
Yeah, and so the next one is the AHRB. And again, I'll just go to, now therefore be it resolved, the AHRB of the Village of Dobbs Ferry determines that based upon the findings and reasoning set forth below, the application for AHRB is approved, granted to the following, and then it refers again to the same plan set dated October 14th, 2024.
I make the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right. Yes, the next item on the agenda is 33 Ogden Place West, pre-submission conference for proposed addition to existing home.
Good evening.
Evening.
My name is Kasper Tokorski, owner, 33 Ogden Place. Yes, we're proposing a rear addition to the existing house located at 33 Ogden. All right, so we do have an existing house that does not comply with the current setbacks. Is located 11.7 feet from the front setback, and it's only located, I believe, 6.3 feet from the left setback. We're proposing to do an addition to the house. Let me just open this. So this is the, right here, there is an existing house with the setbacks. The blue line is the setbacks, so the front does not comply and the left side does not comply. We are proposing to do a rear addition, which is right here, and we're trying to keep it with the zoning laws, so we complied with the side setback, rear setback, and, I mean, the front setback does not stay much impacted as we're not putting an addition in the front. What we are proposing to do is basically keep the house pretty much as it is. There is a rear garage that will be added at the ground level, first and second floor. That would increase the number of bedrooms and the number of bathrooms. So from basically existing 3 small bedrooms, we would get up to 4 bedrooms. And from existing 1.5 to maybe 2 bathrooms, depends how it was done, before we would get basically 2 full and 2.5 bathrooms. What we are basically proposing is at the very last page, which board doesn't have it. Let me just go here. This is okay. This is pretty much the front elevation of the house. And what we're proposing to do is add a little dormer shed, where the bathroom will be located. And on the side, a little bump, which is right here, which would allow to put a full staircase to replace the winder. On the back, this is the addition side. So in order to comply with the light and ventilation requirements, there is a window that needs to be added here, as we're taking a window away on the back wall, which we added a third matching dormer. And this is the rear addition, which would host 2 bedrooms and a bathroom with a laundry room, mudroom, and a partial living room downstairs with a rear deck. And this is the rear view of the property. So this would be basically stairs from the ground going up, a rear entrance to the deck with a slider. The existing house has a side chimney. This side chimney is an existing structure, and so talking about the sky exposures, we try to comply. So the chimney is the main factor that blocks the sky exposure on the right. We have that little angle of the addition of the main roof that would be encroaching here, which is basically pretty much right where the chimney is. It's very, very little. On the left side, we have the 2 dormers that already encroach in the sky exposure, so we'd be adding the third one, which we saw basically on the previous elevation. This is the front. The dormer complies with the sky exposure. It doesn't basically encroach it by, as the front peak of the existing gable encroaches it. And the back is, because of the large setback on the back, is completely fine. And we have, we have the rear, which is basically we try to step the rear addition in about 6 feet in. So this way it complies with the sky exposure and with the setbacks.
Yeah, let it off.
Looking at the plot map, so we do have basically, excuse me for a second, let's just start here. On the existing map, we have 2 trees. There are placed one in the front, one in the back. The tree in the back is pretty much right where the addition would be. So this is right where the stairs are landing, right here. So we're asking to remove 2 trees as a part of this application. The front tree is in a bad shape. I believe it was hit by a thunder. Over the years, it was trimmed several times, so we can see the main trunk growing. Somebody broke it or cut it off. There is another piece that grew on top of it, got large. Somebody broke it off. So the tree basically hangs over the house, and it's in a poor condition. So if the board allows it and the tree commission allows it, we would ask for removal of 2 trees and potentially do a planting of new ones. So this way we can recoup for the loss. But this tree is mainly for the safety. It doesn't encroach much on the building, as the rear one must be removed in order to accomplish that layout. Besides, I guess we're complying with, like I said, with all of the zoning from what we see from the requirements. So this is just a main renovation of the main structure, rear addition, just making the house larger more comfortable for a family to live in. And I guess on the very last thing is we're trying to let me just bring the existing one. The existing setup does have, okay, there you go. The existing setup does have a, it's a carport basically located right off of Irving Street that hosts 2 cars right now, and it's basically just a portion of it is on the property, portion of it is on Dobbs Ferry land. What we're proposing to do is actually close this area right here off, which would become a fence and the grass, and we're proposing to do a driveway, so relocate the driveway with a two-car garage under to host 2 spots required by the town. All of the stormwater and basically runoff water would be hosted by a series of collectors located in the back of the property. So that also complies with the codes, I believe. And we had made basically some selections. What we would like to use is basically a block shingle, standard wooden fencing, vinyl siding, and we have basically like black windows selected. I mean, this is just basically a, I guess we tried to prep enough for the board to see what we're proposing to do. The existing house is partially stucco, partially shingle, partially brick, so it's a big mixture of everything. So if I can go back to the last, scheme, what we will try to do is basically achieve that kind of a look where the stucco, if possible, on the bottom, we would preserve it, we would paint it, we would do a white alike, maybe not pure white, but white alike siding, black windows, black roof, hopefully get the brick to paint it black. So it's, in my opinion, it's a pretty cute look to that house without just completely ripping everything apart. It's still the main elevation of the front is pretty much preserved. I guess any questions or comments?
I have a question, and I'm probably not the right person to ask this, considering who's on the board, but it feels like the side view elevation the addition doesn't feel integrated with the current house. Does anybody else have concerns in that regard?
Which elevation are you looking at?
I think it was that one there, yeah.
I mean, I think, so there are 2 things, I guess. I mean, I kind of agree. I guess one thing is, can you go to the rear elevation? I think and I feel like the elevation, the one, just a straight on elevation drawing.
Oh, sorry.
I feel like we've accepted this more than enforced it. I think that this is another case where the sky exposure plane actually doesn't help. I mean, I like having the sky exposure plane because it limits the worst infractions, but like, I don't see the point in clipping off the end of that hip roof to meet the sky exposure plane on the right-hand side.
So this roof right here, let me just make sure. This is an existing roof. This is an existing.
So do you prefer to keep the existing, the way it's canted off there? It's up to you. I mean, I just wanted to make sure you weren't doing it because I would try to persuade my other board members to forgive it.
So the plate height on the addition is 8 feet, right? So we're trying to get an 8-foot ceiling inside. This bedroom inside where the roof comes down to a plate is only like 5'6". So there is a slant coming into the roof. Because of the sky exposure, we didn't touch that part of the roof. So we only had added, let me just.
Right, but if I told you that you didn't have to meet the sky exposure plan, what would you have done?
Well, if it would be possible, I mean, we're basically doing quite a bit of work. I would raise that roof to an 8-foot plate and change the roof line. Let me
Right.
just show you this elevation here.
So I don't know how the other board members feel, but I feel like it's a kind of, how many of the houses here, Dan, conform to the sky exposure plan in this neighborhood?
So,
0?
as you can see, this is the side view from Irving, right? And this is where the existing house ends right now. There is not, this dormer doesn't exist. This bedroom in the back has this dormer with the window, which the ceiling goes up. Then there is the 5'6" plate, and in the back side, there is a window. In order to meet the requirement, we added that dormer, thinking that it would give not only the light and ventilation required, but more height in the room, so it's more usable, user-friendly. But what we would, if you know, that would be allowed, ideally, that roof line would be brought up to 8 feet, and there would be a 4 or 5 pitch over it, and that would give a regular 8-foot ceiling inside, a decent room. But like I said, we would be completely not compliant with, with the setbacks. I mean, with the setback, with the
Sky exposure plan.
Yep.
I mean, it's up, I don't know how the other board members feel about it.
The house,
I
I
would
do
say
agree,
you
would
should be
look-
forgiven about it. The house will look better. The rooms will be more usable.
Yeah, I agree with that argument.
Yeah, I do
I
too.
agree too. I also feel that to the left, it's just like a mass.
Right, I mean, I think to Alan's earlier point, I think that elevation, can you go to your photos, your rendering of that elevation? The one, that kind of three-dimensional photoreal view, which, by the way, thank you for creating all those views. It's like super helpful. But I kind of agree with Alan that, and what's the reason for the, they look like two different houses, and I don't know. And I don't, also, and the overhang,
So we had the choice, and this could be also, in order, I'll show you in a second a plan map, but we are required to put a sidewalk. So the idea was to step in the garage enough where you pull in with a smaller car. It still doesn't comply, but it's about 16 and a change feet. So the car, when it pulls up close to the garage door and it's not parked inside the garage, it wouldn't totally block the sidewalk. On the second floor, it was almost impossible to fit 2 decent-sized bedrooms. So we came up with the overhang. The other idea was to actually do the overhang right over the
garage.
right over the garage, lower it 1 floor, and actually have a larger mudroom because the footprint doesn't change, so all of the coverages stay pretty much the same. We could also explore this version where
I think that's better. Or at least I'd like to see it. And then why are there no windows at all? on
looking
that?
at the directions, this is a north side. The setback of the house is only 6.5 feet from the road. This road, I actually have a pleasure to live down the street. We're the neighbors. This is a shortcut when, everything backs up. People fly 40 miles an hour over there. That's not a pleasant street to have windows. And when we were here a couple years ago doing 12 Irving Place, we had the same discussion about the windows, and I tried to fight it. That road is much louder, and the house is so close to the road. This, yes, just the appearance-wise, maybe it will improve, but it's north side, so there is not much great sunlight, not much of benefit to, besides the exterior appearance.
Well, I think, especially if we're going to forgive these various sky exposure plane things, I think it'd be good to do something architecturally to moderate the mass of that piece. It looks like a different house than the piece with the 3 dormers.
So now, as I'm thinking about this, the layout of the second floor is that this is the front bedroom, so this would require to have a side window, right? if the board will allow us to raise this roof up, what we would do maybe is a double window here, and there might be a potential to put a window, so it all uniformly, spreads, breaks the large mass of the addition. On the first floor, this is a laundry room, so I guess if the bump out, again, is brought out on
Over
the
the
first,
door.
not on the second, that would give more room in the structure itself. There could be a potential for putting a larger window, again, not necessarily center, but off-center. But yes, so you could, with the change that we're making, yes, it would definitely break up the mess.
So maybe if you could do that, like do a kind of another like other design scheme to sort of incorporate some of the things we've been talking about, that would be great.
Okay, yeah, could definitely do that.
Just so it would look more of a uniform building rather than it looking like you literally put an extension on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that roof line, if the board allows it, that's going to be a deal breaker because with the setback of 5'6", I won't have much choice with that sky exposure. But if that's forgiven,
Yeah.
then absolutely. I mean, I think that side elevation, it's a pretty cute house in the front. The side, we
Yeah, it
both
is.
Right.
weren't huge fans of. The rear looks okay, it just the side was a little bit ugly, if I should say it this way. But yeah, if that is permitted, then we can definitely address that.
Great.
Okay, that'd be great, thank you.
Do the board members have any other issues they'd like to discuss this time?
I do not.
Valerie, your memo of 11-1, you have some open items on that?
Yeah, I mean, it was just minor stuff. I mean, dealing with asking them to come back with some information on lighting, right, and where they're going to put lighting, because right now their renderings don't really show that. And then also landscaping. I know they talked a little bit about it, but just really just recognizing if there's any tree removal and what kind of tree placement you're going to put in, because I think, again, documentation wise, not necessarily verbally, just put it down in documentation in terms of the tree replacement. Other than that, I'll defer over to Anthony for the rest of the comments.
Yeah, we've got a few engineering comments. The site plan needs a little work on the engineering side. Details and calculations on the stormwater, I believe. And I'm not sure there was a survey, survey.
There is an old survey, and this is one of the questions. The survey, I have it open here. The survey is dated 1980, May 19th, 1980. It's a valid survey. Since we're doing addition, it's not a new build. I mean, the question was, do we need to necessarily spend the money and come up with a new survey, or can we work off of existing survey?
I mean, the only thing would be, there's no topo on the survey. I mean, if you could use something like GIS topography or something, I mean, like, you can't tell, how is the driveway pitching? Or I guess it's pitching down.
Well, it would be, we shot the transom on it, it would be pretty much level, so we would have to do,
I mean, I would accept it if there's some addressing of the, the elevations of the driveway and so forth.
and we can come up with that.
And something about, addressing the grading on the site plan somehow, to pitch away from the house or whatever you're gonna do. But mainly the driveway, I guess, was
Sure.
concerned.
That shouldn't be a problem. We can definitely, versus just trying to spend the money on a brand-new survey, I can definitely get some topo on it so everybody can see what the heights are.
Okay.
And I guess we have the two trees. I mean, I don't know how the board feels with the trees, but those are,
Usually you have to go to the tree commission.
yeah.
And show them, have a arborist look at the tree and write a letter saying that it's not, it's not worth keeping.
So I think, Dan, with this, right, because, so this is for, are we talking about the tree that's not related to the site plan?
No, there's two trees, and they're both related to the site plan. They're both marked as to be, removed.
Okay, so then they won't need to go to the tree commission.
Oh,
Yeah. I just want to clarify so that you understand the
Yeah.
process.
One other question, you're showing sidewalks,
Correct,
you're adding sidewalks,
correct.
okay? There's curb out there now,
There is a curb out there now, correct?
so you're adding sidewalk all around. Is it connecting on Ogden to an existing
They
sidewalk?
do.
No, Ogden, there is no sidewalk. We've
No,
done
not
one
on Ogden.
Irving.
It
Irving
goes down to
side,
Irving. It connects to
His
one
other
Irving.
house has sidewalk already. So this would be
And
a
it dead ends.
They
sidewalk.
connect on Irving to
The
an
whole
existing sidewalk.
block.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Now, you could walk the whole block on the sidewalk.
Right.
All right.
The whole block of Irving, you'll have a sidewalk.
One of our goals.
Yeah, that's a plus.
All right, you gotta, there's no details on here, you gotta submit some construction details, sidewalk, curb, drop curb, apron, how you dealing with the apron. You have, sidewalk should go through the apron, you should have a concrete apron,
Sure,
pretty flat, it'll, sidewalk can kinda go through there, you know.
correct. Mm-hmm. That's not a problem. We can show all of that detail.
All right,
Okay, are you clear on what you're gonna,
So I guess
Bring
I'll
it
see
to
the
us
board
next
next month with the changes, and hopefully by then we can get this thing resolved.
okay, thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the last item on our agenda for this evening is 256 Broadway, pre-submission conference for proposed renovation and adaptive reuse of existing structure for conversion to an accessory dwelling unit and exterior alterations.
Yeah, and I just want to talk a little bit to the board about process. So this only requires architectural review approval and a special permit. It does not require site plan approval. So, but the special permit does require a public hearing, so no matter what, they will need to have a public hearing on it.
Okay.
And thanks for that, Valerie, but like, what is the difference between the kind of range of issues that we might talk about for a special permit versus site plan review?
So this particular special permit just specifically refers to the ADU special permit. So I did provide in your memo.
Yeah, I saw that.
That, everything that it complies
Meets.
with everything, so, other than that, it's just AHRB. Unless you have specific questions related to one of the criteria for the ADU that you feel that the particular project does not meet.
Okay, is there
So,
someone here to speak to this project?
Wait, do you have another?
well, no, just like, I have site plan comment, like,
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's not for site plan, because the building's already there.
okay. Well, you'll see what my comments are, and then you'll tell me if I'm out of bounds.
No, it's
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, excellent. Well, hi, my name is Matthew Cairo. I'm here on behalf of the client and speaking for Arthur Chabon Architects. We're the architects of the for this particular proposal. If you'd like, let me see if I can share my screen, and I'll take you through the sort of the basics of what we're proposing here. Let's see here. I believe I can do that. All right, are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, excellent. The property is 256 Broadway. It faces on Broadway. It's a 2.5-story existing home, and the locus of the project is actually not on Broadway. It's on Cochrane Avenue, and is a 2-story frame garage built in the back here. It's in a state of disrepair and requires some attention. The intent is to convert it from the existing garage to an accessory dwelling unit. But we wish to do this within the envelope of the existing building, making as minimal a modification as we can, and without altering the impervious cover on the site. So we're also operating within the limitations of the ADU regulation, which requires that we can't exceed a maximum of 800 square feet unless there's a relaxation of the rule. So we're currently at about 790 square feet. So we're within the limits required. We would keep the existing foundation and the main frame of the house, demolish the portion that can't be salvaged, and reconstruct creating a service space on the first floor, which would sort of be the basement. Convert the first floor into a living area with a kitchenette, dining area, living room, and then new staircase up to the second floor, which would have 2 bedrooms and a single bathroom on the second floor. This is just our electrical plan. Diagrams for interior and exterior lighting. And the section, you can see that we're going to need to do some modification to the roof, but we would keep the roof within the existing envelope that it has right now. And there is an existing dormer that faces to the east. We would be proposing to move that dormer further away from the existing, from the neighbor in order to make it part of the bedroom 201. The other dormer which we would be adding on the west side would be to allow for enough space to install a bathroom on the second floor. This is the lateral section. You can see that the primary bedroom here would be on the north side of the second floor. And the section through the dormers, you can see that the dormers really are required in order to make the bathroom workable, and because of the height of the roof, the existing gambrel roof, means that in order to make the second bedroom and the bathroom functional, we would need the dormers to be placed where we show them in plan. Please let me know if I'm going too quickly here. I'm trying to make economical use of everyone's time.
That's fine.
All right. North elevation, you can see this would be a steel flue for the boiler, which we're proposing to install. This window is in the location of an existing window facing north. Facing to the east, the existing dormer is more or less on the center line. We would be proposing to move it slightly to the south in order to allow it to encompass the second bedroom. To the west, INSEE would be installing windows. This existing door would be refurbished. We'd have lighting installed over the door and over the entryway on the exterior. And then to the south, the main entrance on the existing drive, which would remain, we'd add wood handrails and guardrails because there's a drop off on the site that exists, and we would add wood handrails in order to allow protection around the entryway. These are just our rendered views, just showing some of the proposed materials and colors. We would be proposing hardy board siding in keeping with this sort of the barn-like structure that exists there. We would try to go with something like an oxide red, slightly darker trim boards made out of wood with a sort of an oxide red hardy board siding and a red-brown Timberlane asphalt shingle roof. The steel we would allow to be just stainless steel, or galvanized rather, I apologize. And the windows would all be framed in a slightly darker red, the same as the trim boards. Over the main entrance, we have a standing seam aluminum roof, which would be a sort of a graphite gray. The stone and brick and concrete foundations would remain as they are now. We'd refurbish them, repoint the masonry, and make sure that the foundation is sound. And you can see the entryway, places where we would have our lighting. There would also be lighting underneath the porch entryway. All right. These are the photos of the existing structure. As you can see, it's in need of some attention. Regardless, the structure as seen, the south view as seen from Cochrane, you can see there's existing parking and an existing concrete pad around the side that falls off about 7 feet deep, and we would be taking it down basically to the frame above the foundation, and then we would reconstruct, add new windows, add new doors, and replace the roofing. So this is just details on on the windows we'd propose to use. These would be wood casement windows from Anderson. Exterior lightings. This is outdoor fixtures that we've selected. And It's actually a fairly straightforward proposal. I'd be happy to respond to any questions you might have.
The flue on the outside of the building is quite pronounced. Did you look at, is there any kind of boiler in place at this point, or was that a new installation?
It would be a new installation.
Did you look at, heat pumps instead of a boiler?
Well, we're limited to some extent because this is a Habitat for Humanity project. We're limited to some extent by budget. We did look at alternate locations for the flue, for one thing, in order to place the flue, for example, perhaps on the west facade rather than on the north facade. The problem with placing it on one of the side elevations rather than on one of the ends is that it increases the relative height of the flue. It tends to look taller than it actually is when it's on one of the short sides of a gambreled roof. However, one of the other options that we've looked at and our engineer is currently exploring is, first of all, the sizing of the boiler may not require the full size that we've shown here. What we've shown was the maximum size that the flue could be. It may end up being a slightly narrower flue when our engineer has completed his calculation for how big the boiler needs to be. We're also exploring the possibility of a direct vent boiler, which would just exhaust water vapor, and that would just require would be a surface mounted vent, and that could go basically anywhere that's proximate to the boiler.
Now, it may just be the rendering, but I would certainly be more comfortable with a condensing boiler that, just vented out the side of the building.
Okay.
I mean, first of all, I'm very excited to see this project because I was part of a little cabal of people who were trying to get the ADU ordinance passed. And is this the first one we reviewed? I don't know. We reviewed one that kind of went away.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm very excited about it and I'm very in favor of it. Having said that, I thought that it's funny, I bike by this building a million times because I used to get up to my house on Judson from the train station. I'd go by it and I never really kind of paid much attention to it. But I think that the neighbor's letter was kind of on point on two things. And one of them, which is that it literally, I went there today and I walked into that little patio area where they are. It is right on, it is in their face. And so I think the flue either has to go away or it has to be enclosed or something needs to happen there. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is that it is true that it's gonna look down if you look at the
we go back to that elevation. That would be the north elevation, I think.
The north
correct?
Elevation, that window is gonna be like really looking, I think it is gonna kind of impact their sense of privacy on that patio. And the last thing I would say about the windows is it's great that you're using wood Anderson windows. Those are very high quality windows. The proportion of the windows, which is sort of more horizontal than kind of vertical, seems to be, I guess I'd like to see some photographs. Again, I've seen that house. I bicycled by the house, the main house, a million times. I can't remember, but it seems to me like what's the kind of window that's on the existing house? And because it feels like to me it'd be good if the windows could be like more in keeping with the house, the main house, and I think the sort of horizontal proportion of the casements that you picked, to me, doesn't quite square with the rest of the architecture, in my opinion.
Well, I could speak to that briefly if I could. We're bound by an egress rule. The windows have to be you have to be able to egress the windows in the case of an emergency,
right.
Which means that they're wider than they would normally be. It's probably slightly wider than we would normally select. Right. But they are these being egress windows. They had to be wider than typical.
Not wider than taller, because we renovated our house and we had the same obligation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true, but it doesn't mean that the windows have to be wider than they are tall. It just means you have to meet a width requirement, right, Dan?
Has to be 5.8 square foot opening.
Yeah. Yes, that's correct. But it also
So-
has to, there also has to be a sort of a minimum width, I think.
24 wide.
We should, it's also worth noting that this structure doesn't really match with the main house as well, because the
No, I know.
house is Victorian and this is sort of a later addition. This is sort of like American kind of a vernacular.
I agree, but it wouldn't have these kind of, but I feel like these windows still, to me, feel like they're not, there's something about their proportion and style that it doesn't seem to comport with the rest of the colonial or whatever. I don't know what style house it is. So
Sort
I
of
appreciate.
barn style, I suppose, if that is such a
Or
thing.
yeah, if that's a style, I don't know. But it feels, there's something about, like when I look at the,
They could do a double hung egress, I guess.
yeah, that's what we have in our house. I mean, when we renovated our house, that's what we ended up doing. We had double hung windows and one of them, and some of them are egress windows. And I can't remember now what the code requirements were, but we were able to meet them. So again, I'm like really in favor of this. I've been waiting for somebody to do an ADU. So I'm not trying to, I'm super supportive of the whole effort, but I do feel like the privacy issue, the aesthetic issue for the people who are next door, and the one architectural question I would have would be like this window proportion thing. I think it would be good to see an alternative. And I do appreciate the effort to, do it inexpensively and so on.
Yeah. Well, I could speak to the privacy issue briefly as well. I got the memo from the letter from the neighbors, and we're definitely very sensitive to their concerns. The thought of putting the window on a facing elevation rather than on an end elevation, that would pretty significantly increase the complexity of the roof, because we'd end up with either one very wide dormer on that roof, or it would end up two dormers close together. It would be a very complicated thing, and we are, as you've already noted, we're working against a budget. This is such a tight space, and it's such a small structure. Altering the plans, it's really almost impossible. And it's, again, I don't want to downplay anybody's concerns, but it's just a bedroom. It's not the main living spaces. So, and the main living spaces don't face onto the neighboring property, like the kitchen, the dining area, and the living room, where the tenants would probably spend most of their time. Those areas do not face onto the neighbor's property.
So those are my comments. I don't know if others.
Any board members have any comments?
I mean, what is the process?
You
If we don't
Call
approve.
you could call for a public hearing on the special permit next month, if you'd like.
Or, I mean, I'm happy to expedite it, but I feel like I would like to see from Arthur some attempt anyway to address the issues of the boiler flue and the window proportions.
Can we see the other, excuse me, can we see the other elevations, please?
Certainly. Just say when.
We could always come back with like revisions.
The next
That's
one?
AHRB, right? You still could call for a public hearing on the special permit.
Okay.
Matt, what are the plans for the sewer and water?
Sewer and water would tap the existing lines.
It's interesting, this place had a basement as a garage.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a dwelling ever?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay.
I think it was a garage or a sort of a storage space. I don't know that it was ever an actual dwelling.
I mean, it's perfect for this.
Yeah.
I agree, but
And you arrived at the square footage because of the second floor, the restricted areas in the second floor?
Correct.
I'm comfortable with calling for a public hearing.
Yeah, me too.
Okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
it's-
Arthur, are you gonna, at the public hearing, we're also gonna do AHRB review, right?
Yeah.
So Arthur, can you try to address some of the issues that we've raised?
Yeah, I'll definitely discuss it with Arthur, and we'll do what we can.
Okay.
Yeah, move that we call for a public hearing at the next meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. See you next month.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you all very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Cool.
Good night, thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, is there any other business anybody wants to bring up? I will say that Rob and Michael from the Board of Trustees and I and Valerie got on a call to talk about adjusting the steep slope code. And our goal is to present something to the rest of the board sometime this month for comment. Keep a lookout.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I move that we close the meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank